Introduce to the stage Zaki Manian from Sommelier Finance.
All right. I'm very happy to be here, very happy to be in Lisbon. I've been here about a week. It's been excellent. So I'm giving the first talk of Cosmoverse. Originally this talk was I think Billy was supposed to give this talk. He's much more in the role of what is going on in our ecosystem. The sort of theme of this talk is sort of, it's not specifically a talk about what is Sommelier and what is Sommelier doing. It wasn't the right way to start out this conference, but it was a little bit about, what are we doing next in Cosmos? The way I think about sort of my journey through Cosmos has been, there has been this, there was the formation of the idea of what Cosmos is and this vision of, that there would be many blockchains and that, applications would be running on those blockchains and that people would be using them and, in bridges and IBC would all exist. And we have sort of found ourselves in 2021 in much of the world that we sort of dreamed about in 2016. And that's very exciting to me. I think everyone's very excited about it. That's just sort of what Cosmos has been sort of working on, has come to fruition. And that's very exciting and sort of very gratifying to have kind of gotten to this point. I think the question that sort of is posed for everyone in sort of the Cosmos ecosystem is a little bit about where do we go next? And so I have this sort of thesis about sort of where interoperability is going. And interoperability right now is sort of about, so what is the sort of current state of play of interop in the ecosystem? The current state of play of the interop is block space is fungible. And what does it mean for block space to be fungible? That means that most blockchains have very similar applications to each other. So you go to a blockchain, you find a DEX, you find a lending protocol, you find an EVM, you find a WebAssembly execution environment. Roughly the same applications run on everything else. So why do people use different why do multiple blockchains exist? Well, the first one is cost. If everyone was running on the same blockchain, transaction would be very expensive. There's also sort of this advantage of sort of customizability and all of these advantages that we sort of have pushed for why people should embrace the Cosmos vision. And again, this is playing out in real time in stuff that is built on top of the Cosmos SDK and Tendermint, and in the wider world of blockchains. We are fully in this world. But we don't necessarily, I think this world has sort of a natural limit. So the natural limit of this is there is at some point a finite number of DEXs and lending protocols and derivatives trading platforms and everything else that need to exist. That this number is somewhat finite, but that doesn't mean that will then be all of the blockchains. What I anticipate is that as we go forward, what we are building is a world where there are many blockchains, and the blockchain and a sort of a given user experience, a given sort of customer workflow actually travels across multiple blockchains. That multiple blockchains are working collaboratively together to bring a use case to market. And so what I think of what we are doing next in Cosmos is we are building a bunch of enabling technologies to go from the sort of fungible block space era to this composable block space era, where a given application moves, actually consists of multiple blockchains working together. And so, again, what am I doing? I'm a protocol designer. And so what I think of what we are doing in Cosmos that is most exciting, it is sort of these four components of what we are sort of adding to the Cosmos stack that will make it easy to build applications like Sommelier that are built out of multiple blockchains working together. So the sort of themes, the sort of component pieces of many things that are being worked on in Cosmos that I think most like sort of enable this world is ABCI++, which I'll talk about in a second, dynamic IBC, DIBC, liquid staking, and interchain accounts. So what is ABCI++? So ABCI is a piece of the Cosmos technology stack that is extremely in the weeds. People, if you use a wallet or build an application off of Cosmos, you may never have encountered or heard of it. But ABCI was actually like one of the sort of earliest innovations of sort of the Tendermint project, which was this idea that we are going to have an abstraction layer between the consensus engine and the application, so that Tendermint could host many different applications, enabling people to build Cosmos and Tendermint compatible things in Rust and Go and potentially other languages. For a long time there was a JavaScript implementation. All of these things use this interface called ABCI. But ABCI was invented 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And blockchains have come a long way, and we are starting to learn more about what abstractions between consensus and the application that blockchain developers actually need, that we need to build sort of bigger blockchain, sort of realize the potential of Tendermint as a consensus engine. And so ABCI++ is basically this idea of, right now what happens is application, like Tendermint does consensus and then gives the transactions to the application, says, we came to consensus on these applications, now process those transactions. And what ABCI++ is basically the idea of making every step of consensus programmable, so that you could have an application, for instance, that doesn't actually produce a block until you've agreed on what events happened on Ethereum during that block production phase. An application that doesn't produce a block until the validator set has agreed on a price for like a price oracle for a Terra-like stablecoin. These are sort of this is like, I think, one of the sort of key enabling features of the sort of technology development. If you talk about to like sort of every sort of different Cosmos application protocol, I think probably the feature that we are most excited about on sort of the work in progress in the Cosmos technology community is ABCI++, because it sort of enables this like far easier mechanism of integrating Tendermint with sort of sort of external other blockchains, other prices, or sort of other financial systems, et cetera, like natively into the system. So ABCI++, like when ABCI, so like, where you can build, like all of these things exist anyways, but they become sort of much easier to build under the sort of domain of ABCI++, and it is an extremely exciting technology. It sort of enables Cosmos to kind of go in a different direction than all the other proof of stake protocols that sort of they don't have this like 6 years of history. So what is DIBC, dynamic IBC? Dynamic IBC is a really, so when most of you have sort of used IBC, what you've experienced right now is what we call ICS-20, which is token transfers. But what I'm really happy about the IBC that we actually shipped was that we enabled other applications to be built on top of IBC in the sort of version that we shipped. We just needed to have smart contract languages that were natively connected to IBC. So right now, what people don't really realize is that the IBC protocol can be permissionlessly extended to support things beyond token transfers, sort of out of the box. That you don't need we don't need a governance proposal, we don't need an upgrade. Like all of this stuff is already sort of baked into the IBC protocol, and it's just been waiting for smart contract frameworks that sort of natively speak IBC. And now that we have CosmWasm 1.0 and Agoric coming soon, we have these sort of IBC native smart contract languages that can build IBC like arbitrary protocols before beyond token transfers. So if you want, if you want to have a protocol that is like, governance proposals, or like sort of a multi-chain application that is like controlled by a common governance layer that lives on another chain. Like all of these things can be built out of IBC today using this dynamic IBC functionality. And I think it's like one of the sort of least sort of well-known and least well understood things about what we actually shipped with IBC when we shipped IBC earlier this year. So sort of like extending this theme, there is a second sort of IBC protocol that is like very late in the standardization process. And that second IBC protocol that is in the standardization process is this idea of interchain accounts. And the idea of it is it allows you to control an account on a blockchain from another chain over IBC. So what does this enable? This enables stuff like you can have a wallet on the Cosmos Hub, but that wallet is actually controlled by a DAO that lives on Juno. This sort of capability is coming to interchain accounts, and again, it enables building these like sort of like truly multi-chain applications where you like will have DAOs on chains that support it, controlling accounts on other chains. It is sort of almost the simplest way for a Cosmos chain that doesn't support smart contracts to like opt into a great deal of composability simply by upgrading and supporting this new IBC spec. I've been working really hard on liquid staking in addition to Sommelier, and I think it is a little bit of it is an interesting question of how it fits in it. I gave this talk in 2019 called Staking is DeFi, which basically sort of was like foretelling the rise of liquid staking. And you see liquid staking now is like taking off all over the ecosystem. I've really been a believer that we should do things a little bit differently inside of Cosmos, and have been working towards this with the liquid staking implementation. And we've been building this I've been building this liquid staking implementation. It is sort of getting peer review from a bunch of people in the Cosmos. There's a Telegram group. But how does liquid staking enable sort of cross-chain composability? Well, one of the things that liquid staking will do is it will allow for the security, it'll allow you to compose the staking and security layers across multiple chains together. I don't just imagine that like the only thing that will come out of liquid staking on Cosmos as being, we make a stake, like a DAO consumes those liquid staking tokens and makes a staked atom. People may build like Cosmos index funds. People may may build synthetic assets that expose you to one validator, but across all of the different chains that they validate on. This is, I think, just as much a fundamental building block as the others in getting to this world in which the way Cosmos works is we have all of these different blockchains, but they are actually like the user experience that users are exposed to is actually like a composite of all of these different chains. Okay, so like we've kind of talked through the sort of composable multi-chain world that like sort of Cosmos is sort of inevitably marching towards out of the sort of efforts of numerous people, many of whom are in this room, but this is the future that we are coming towards. But so what is Sommelier? We have this, like our little monster wrapping around Ethereum, the polymorph. So what is Sommelier? Sommelier is an application that is like sort of nested within this world of a composable multi-chain. What is Sommelier doing? So Sommelier is, the way to think about Sommelier is there are smart contracts on Ethereum. Those smart contracts on Ethereum can control funds. So think your DeFi vault. You're in the spirit of something like a Yearn vault. You are putting funds into a system that like executes a strategy. But then the sort of decision-making process, the control process of that system happens on the Sommelier chain. what are, how are funds going to be allocated? How are fees going to be distributed? What is the incentive process for creating a new strategy and a new seller? All of this is sort of adjudicated on the Cosmos chain and then enabled by a fork of the Gravity Bridge that we've been working on. So this is the reason I'm building Sommelier, the reason that I'm so excited about Sommelier, the reason that we have been doing all of this work is I really believe that the killer Cosmos applications will emerge not from just another sort of rehash of the protocols that we've seen successfully, sort of like Aave for Cosmos, etc. But I think where Cosmos will differentiate itself and where this technology stack that we have been building for the last 7 years is really differentiates itself is in these applications that sort of leverage the strengths of the Cosmos chain to do low-fee, gasless transactions, to have sort of high-throughput decision-making, to have a standalone oracle, to have like integrated oracles, like all of these sort of unique capabilities, and then exposing a user experience to people who are on Ethereum that to them just looks like another Ethereum, another Ethereum dApp, another Ethereum smart contract, but is this actual genuine composite of the strengths and of both Ethereum and the EVM environment and Cosmos and the Cosmos chain. So this has been an attempt to like sort of sketch out a bit of a galaxy brain future for the Cosmos. I think that's the future that I'm building towards. This is the future that Sommelier is building towards. And I think it is a future that I hope the rest of the Cosmos will embrace. I think that has already happened, just to the extent that you look at like the priorities of all the different Cosmos projects. So thank you very much.